If you're looking for one of, if not the strongest sorcerer in anime, well, you have come to the right place. There is nothing Ainz isn't capable of doing, and his magic seems to have no limit. Follow us on a journey of discovering the nigh omniscient and omnipotent King of Nazareth. In an online game named Idrisul, an online game for the brave-hearted warriors, countless soldiers marched on in hopes of taking down the overlords, players who have played for so long that they have become untouchable. Inside the RPG game, all the previous users had left the game since the servers were about to shut down, and they finally said goodbye to one another, and the leader, Momonga, also known as Ainz, wanted to stay till the end. He gathered his subordinates and headed towards the main hall. Upon sitting on his throne, he met up with the second in command, the stunning Albedo, and changed her command settings to fall madly in love with him. What a genius pervert. As he laid back and waited, the server glitched, and he never left. The NPCs also gained consciousness and feelings. He assumed it was a program error, but played along till the administrators fixed it. He started smelling and feeling our wonderful waifu. What a lucky chap. Albedo is one of our all-time favorites, to be honest. This new development had Ainz real confused, and he went out to see if anything had changed. He then met up with the twins, Aura and Mare, who were excited to see him. In order to test their combat prowess, he summoned a powerful fire beast using his trusted staff. These two twins managed to dismantle the beast all alone. Don't let their size fool you. They are guardians after all. Ainz was truly special. He was surrounded by powerful guardians who were in charge of several floors inside the kingdom of Nazareth. Shalltear was a ferocious vampire who would kill for Ainz. Cocytus was a warrior of honor whose loyalty knew no bounds. Demiurge was the genius in the group in charge of planning and strategizing. And Albedo, well, she was her. Ainz by his nature knew how to command authority and obedience. The old man was Sebas. He worked in the shadows and serves the light. Or should I say, the King of Darkness. He gave everyone orders to scout the new territory in order to launch an invasion. This guy wants to be an emperor. What an ambitious ruler. The Guardians are also head over heels over him. This is what a leader aspires of his subordinates. Out of nowhere, Albedo and Shalltear started fighting over Ainz. Man, having a harem and letting them fight for you, can it get any better than that? Ainz went back to his chambers and started experimenting. His transformation changed his status from a magic user to a power wielder. Is this guy omnipotent inside this verse? He can teleport, control monsters, and fly into the clouds. I'm not usually jealous of characters, but Ainz always holds a soft spot. His power and status is what we dream of one day attaining. Elsewhere, there was an ongoing war, and the king's men were sent to investigate the aftermath. The most powerful warrior of the kingdom, Gazef, was in charge of the operation. He was disappointed to see the amount of destruction and casualty that ensued. Hold up, Ainz has a bird-eye point of view of the surrounding. Is he also omniscient? What were the writers thinking crafting a character like this? Upon seeing a village being attacked, he informed Sebas to make the necessary preparation and teleported to the incident instantly. Now how badass is that? In his presence, all shall tremble and fall. No. Resurrection magic as well. Did they really give him necromancer abilities? What's next? He can heal the injured? I guess I spoke too soon. The undead he just created was rampaging throughout the village, laying waste to all who dared. These emotionless monsters were the perfect soldiers for any empire. Here came Ainz and Albedo as saviors of the people. What a way to rile up the audience. I didn't know theatrics was his forte. After earning the village people's trust, he gave them their word to protect the village and to call upon him whenever they needed his help. It seems the invasion had already started. However, he took the wise approach. Ainz had officially infiltrated the village and succeeded in making them believe in him. Power does have its perks. Suddenly, Gazef came and met up with Ainz. After hearing what had happened, he thanked him for all he had done in the name of the kingdom. Meanwhile, enemies of the state were planning to make an ambush, and a creepy-looking figure is seen plotting behind the shadows. Gazef and the rest took shelter in a hut as they observed the enemies from afar. From a distance, they appeared strong, but Gazef wasn't the slight bit afraid. Ainz stood back and watched as the cavalry marched into battle. I guess he wanted to test their mettle and investigate the enemy's weakness. It seems that they were using magic to combat the king's soldiers, and the fight turned into a bloodbath real quick. We all know how magic is superior to raw power, and as such, they were in deep trouble. All the soldiers had fallen, and Gazef was left all alone. Even so, the brave warrior refused to give up and smiled in the face of danger. Just then, Ainz teleported him back to the cozy shelter and faced down the enemies like a real G. He faced dozens of enemies who tried attacking him at once, but alas, he was impervious to their attacks. They were in a state of disbelief as none of their magical attacks was capable of making a dent on him. Ainz used his black flames to extinguish them, and as a last resort, they summoned an angelic deity to eliminate Ainz once and for all. Unfortunately, he was disappointed at their pointless effort. He stood there as the attack landed and simply brushed it off. Afterward, my guy summoned a literal black hole to swallow the angel. Is this cosmic power? I'm starting to simp like Albedo. His power is truly unbelievable. The following day, Ainz and Albedo were seen discussing their strategy for invasion. Ainz wanted to take a subtle approach and make people fall in love with him. And speaking of love, Albedo was still starstruck over him and started flirting blatantly. He tried to refuse her temptation, but she was sure persistent. I wonder when I'll find a woman like her. Suddenly, Shalltear interrupted their heartfelt union, and the two started going back and forth again. These catfights are sure fun to watch. Later on, Ainz transformed into his hero costume and went to the bar. However, a couple of thugs wanted a fuss and learned the hard lesson of not messing with an adventurer. After breaking a bystander's potion, he replaced it for her and went upstairs to strategize. He started going over the plan with Gamma, and they planned to go on adventures to learn more about the world. As such, they decided to get a job. The girl who took the potion from Ainz went to get it appraised and learned that it was of the highest quality. This brought mischievous thoughts into her brain. Back at the guild, Ainz was stuck choosing a job and ended up meeting a group of enthusiastic adventurers. They welcomed him into their squad and asked him to help them complete missions. Simple tasks such as hunting monsters, nothing complicated. They were excited to have him along until a little kid showed up asking for Ainz's support in a mission. Enfirea, wait, what a weird name, was the guy in the appraisal room, and he wanted to take advantage of Ainz after witnessing his pure potion. The gang agreed to tag along, and he was more than willing to compensate everyone fairly. Everyone obliged, and they all went out together, looking like a crew in search of pirate treasure. While they rested, one of the adventurers couldn't help but try and flirt. Alas, he was let down harshly. Dating is a nasty business if you ask me. The group then started talking about a mysterious character called the Wise King. This sparked the curiosity of Momonga. Back in the Nazareth kingdom, Demiurge walked in on Albedo cuddling inside Ainz's bed. It seems her infatuation has reached an all-time high, and she even made a custom pillow. Now, this is true love. Momonga, on the other hand, was trying to study the adventurers and is seen starting conversations with them. In the heat of the moment, she actually spilled the beans on who they were and had to be restrained immediately. Just then, weird-looking orcs and ogres marched their way. The adventurers looked pumped up and ready. They started launching attacks from a distance since they weren't able to defeat them up close. However, Momonga showed them true power by slicing the orcs in one slash. Damn, the animation looks hella clean. After defeating the enemies, the weaklings had to be healed. These guys wouldn't survive long. Later on, they all got together for a bonfire dinner and started sharing stories with one another. They confessed how they wanted to be heroes and were very cheerful. It seems that they've been friends for a long time and trust one another wholeheartedly. While Momonga started speaking, everyone went silent and listened intently. Afterward, he felt the need to be alone and left the group to spend some me time. I guess he's an introvert after all. After he left, they started talking about his powers and ranked him among the strongest. Elsewhere, a girl by the name of Clementine was wreaking havoc looking for a special artifact. She was the lackey of an old sorcerer and was doing his bidding. These two look like a terrible bunch. The following day, the group is seen walking toward their destination with Momonga behind following pursuit. After last night's bonfire, they all seemed to get along well and formed strong bonds between them. Must be nice finding like-minded people you can resonate with. Upon nearing the village, they were ambushed by a bunch of small ogres who apparently didn't want beef with Momonga. Turns out the woman he saved the first day was in charge, and she informed them of a hero who saved her by the name of Ainz, and she'd like to repay the favor. As luck would have it, Nemu was the brother of Enfirea, and he missed her so much that he started sobbing. My guy must have been crazy worried about her. While they were chatting, he told her about the potion he saw, and she told him the same story. He He put two and two together and realized Ainz and Momon were the same. Quite the prudent detective, wouldn't you say? Meanwhile, Ainz was looking down from above, admiring the village and studying their culture. Just then, the inferior went up to him and confessed that he knew the truth. I suspected Ainz would kill him for knowing his secret, but he was actually quite chill about it. He then asked him how to make the potion, and Ainz hesitated but eventually agreed to his insistent requests. Afterward, they went into the forest looking for the wise king. All the adventurers were afraid, so Momonga volunteered to go in alone. Ora was inside scouting the area. He antagonized the beast who came rushing towards Momonga. Upon making an appearance, we were disappointed at what we saw. The wise king was nothing but a giant hamster. He subdued him without breaking a sweat and turned the wise king into his pet. They were all surprised at the difference in power, and all was well that ended well. Wait a minute, I think I spoke too soon. Clementine the sicko made a visit and tried enticing Infirea into following her. Fortunately, the adventurers tried to defend his honor. However, the old geezer, Khajiit, tagged along and struck the fear of God in these younglings. Momon, on the other hand, rode the wise king and bid the villagers farewell. He was suddenly stopped by the old lady who appraised the potion and decided to listen to what she had to say. When he went inside, he felt a strange presence and found the adventurers turned into zombies. Man, what kind of twisted show is this? Infirea was nowhere to be found, and the rest were laid to rest. I guess you never know what to expect in these magical lands. Momon offered to save him in return for everything she had, which I found weird since he possessed vast amounts of wealth and treasure. He took out scrolls to boost their magic affinity and locate the young lad. After strategizing a plan, they were ready to head out. Meanwhile, zombies were being resurrected left and right inside the cemetery. It was truly a scary sight to behold. They kept on pouring in like maggots until Momon showed up. He jumped over the fence and silenced the zombies in a blink of an eye. With his trusted sword, he obliterated the undead like he was taking a walk in the park. To even the odds, he summoned zombies of his own and went to Khajiit to declare war. Clementine started to flirt with Momon, and they both went away to engage in a one-on-one duel. She is hot, but Momon isn't the type to fall over a seductive woman. On the other side of the cemetery, the old geezer summoned a giant dragon and assumed he had won before the fight even started. Nevertheless, our courageous feline increased her magical affinity and went head-to-head with the dragon. Despite her tiny stature, she was holding off two magical dragons on her own. Meanwhile, Momon was mocking Clementine and her weakness, which antagonized her even more. She launched at him and engaged in a sword duel. Her style of fighting was unique, as it was spontaneous and unpredictable. Meanwhile, Gamma was given the orders to use her full strength, and upon hearing the command, she blasted into the air like Superwoman and hovered above, ready to unleash her wrath. Might I say, the maid costume looked great on her. To show him the difference in their power, she even teleported behind the geezer, proving that she could kill him in an instant. However, she instead opted to demonstrate what a higher-tier magic looks like, and used her electricity to vanquish the dragons in an instant. I told you there were levels to this. On the other hand, Ainz revealed himself to Clementine and squashed her to death like a bug. He then saved the young lad and made his way back like a true hero. While all this was happening, Sebas was working undercover to gather necessary intel to protect the kingdom of Nazareth. He summoned Shalltear to deal with the matter, and she was more than happy to serve Ainz. On her way, she found a couple of informants and managed to subdue them easily. After receiving their main hideout, she headed there promptly and met up with the bandits seeking to cause trouble. Shalltear, being a demon, loved to toy with her prey. After playing around with the leader a bit, she went berserk and let all hell break loose. She became an unstoppable demon with no mercy whatsoever. Once she went outside, she tried bewitching a female soldier who told her what she needed. Afterward, she went berserk again and tried eliminating the army. However, she was struck with a magical attack that took control over her. Upon hearing this news, Ainz grew worried and uneasy. Albedo offered to deal with the matter, but he insisted to wait and investigate. Since Shalltear was a powerful vampire, and whomever took control over her must be really powerful. Let's not forget her uncontrollable infatuation. Before Ainz could do anything, he was summoned by a client who was looking for the services of Momon. Upon meeting him, he wanted a vampire to be exterminated, and he realized it must have been Shalltear. A little while later, Ainz and Albedo met up with a docile Shalltear who was stuck in her place. When he tried breaking the curse, his magical artifact was destroyed, leading him to believe a powerful sorcerer must be behind this. He was frustrated at the incident and vented his rage to Albedo. All the Guardians were shocked at what transpired and feared what might happen to them. Ainz, on the other hand, teleported to his treasure chamber filled with mountains of gold. How rich is this guy? He went deeper and met another Guardian named Pandora's Actor. This guy was too much to handle. His theatrics knew no bounds and everything was a drama to him. Albedo, for one, did not appreciate his zeal. As such, Ainz reprimanded him and put him back into place. In order to defeat Shalltear's curse, he needed something special, something he hid a long time ago. You know how serious the situation is when Albedo starts breaking down into tears. Now this is the loyalty I dream of in a waifu. Being the great leader he is, Ainz gave her a pep talk and insisted on dealing with Shalltear on his own. Of course, Albedo refused, being his second in command. However, his word was absolute. He then teleported to the location to strategize his next plan. He commanded Aura and Mare to scout the region and check for any traps or ambushes. Inside the Nazareth kingdom, Demiurge, Albedo, and Cocytus got into a heated argument. They protested him going alone when they could have teamed up and defeated Shalltear altogether. However, Albedo explained that this was a matter of pride and it's something he had to do alone. Demiurge, for one, was not happy. Ainz finally made it to the battlefield, ready to eliminate his guardian. He immediately started by boosting every known magical affinity. I lost count. Now that his entire stats were maxed, he added even more by releasing his super tier magic and blasting the area. This awakened Shalltear, who started talking down to him. Obviously, she was hypnotized because she would have never dared. As she launched at him, one of his traps went off and he continued by blasting black holes at her. The battle is starting to get exciting. His traps didn't allow her to get anywhere near, so she decided to throw projectiles at him, which actually affected him. They went at it like bitter couples and Shalltear was actually standing her ground. Her regeneration was a nuisance to deal with, and this fight seemed like it would drag on. Ainz used all the tricks in his book to deal with her. I mean, how many abilities does he possess? While Shalltear was winning in the hand-to-hand combat, he decided to use his time magic and obliterate everything. Even so, she regenerated and was ready for round 2. Ainz was proud of how strong his guardian was, and he acted like he saw this coming. He then transformed and put on a shield to prepare for a physical battle. Using his secret weapons, he managed to deal damage on Shalltear and put her on the defensive. He kept on summoning a variety of weapons that should have cost an arm and a leg. Is there anything this guy doesn't have? After having enough, he decided to use his trump card and obliterated Shalltear as a whole. But fear not, using his heap of gold, he resurrected Shalltear good and new. All the Guardians rejoiced at his generosity and leadership. They swore their loyalty to him once again and acknowledged him as their supreme leader. Now that's a leader worthy of following. That's all for this episode. If you admire the power of Ainz and seek to be as invincible as him, subscribe to our channel to learn about amazing abilities and characters. After all, knowledge is the source of power.